Hey folks, I'm Greg. Welcome to the next page of Field Notes. Today, going to be talking about my new waders. Yep. I went with the Patagonia Swiftcurrents, but I don't want to do a review. This is not really a review channel. I just want to talk a little bit about brands and why they change and how we react to it and all that crazy stuff. First of all, the waders. Why did I get a new set of waders? Well, my Sims G3s, I believe, fantastic waders, lasted me many years, started deteriorating. I think it's that membrane on top, it just sort of starts deteriorating. And they still kept me dry, but they start to show the water line and they start to take a little bit longer than I'd like to dry. And when you're fishing every day and getting in and out of them, which I do on certain stretches during the year, it really doesn't work to keep, to have them take that long. And my girlfriend just got a new pair and of course they dry almost instantly. So I got jealous, I guess. So the question is, why did I go with the Patagonias? Well, one, I really like their sizing options. They take into account when you go to their website, and I'm not sponsored or anything by Patagonia, but I do have a lot of their products, a lot of their jackets, and I've always been impressed with their quality and their service. And I've actually had whole jackets be replaced for free when they either had a problem or wore out. So buy once, cry once kind of thing. So I like the sizing, I like the quality, and so to me it was just let's give it a try, and I've heard great things. As far as Sims, and this is kind of where we get into my field notes topic, is the brand itself, as everybody probably knows by now, has been struggling with fly fishermen. I don't know how they're doing financially, but their expansion into big box stores and apparent quality issues and service issues have really turned off a lot of fly fishermen and has really caused a lot of problems for my friends and family that either own or manage fly shops. And so they're trying to work through that right now. And again, I don't want to beat up on Sims too much. I want to just talk about brands in general. Just one more word about my experience with Sims. It's still been fairly positive. Actually, I had a leak in my Z-Pack backpack. I can't exactly remember the brand or the model, but I'd had it for about 3 years and I started to notice some water leaking into it, and I do use it to be submerged. We do a lot of swim fishing here in Central Texas, so it does get wet, and I keep stuff in there that I don't want to get wet, and it got wet. So that's the bad news. It was 3 years old. I feel like when you pay $280, $300 plus for a pack, it should last longer than 3 years, even if it's a waterproofing type situation. So I did contact Sims. They took it back immediately, really no questions asked. The process was simple. I sent it off, and a couple of weeks later I had a brand new pack on my doorstep. So I can't complain about the service. The quality of that bag, I was a little disappointed. The quality of my waders, these things have been bulletproof. So they were the older models though, older model. So I don't know how the newer ones are holding up. I've heard not great things. But again, the bigger problem is really the brand itself. And it was a fly fishing brand that we all could just rely on as fly fishermen. You just didn't have any questions about if it was going to be good or not. Usually the problem was it was just overpriced, or at least we thought so. But made in America, made in Montana, great folks, family-owned company. We didn't mind paying the extra. Plus, we're fly fishermen, right? So we're a little hoity-toity like that. Anyway, but it was our brand. And they took care of us, I believe. And we just kind of got attached to that. And then when they sold to this investor, private equity investors, we just saw the quality go down. And at least that's what the perception is. And at least I felt a little like in high school when you had a small group of friends and one of them maybe joined a team that you weren't on and moved to a different group and you stopped seeing them as much. And it's not that you dislike them anymore, but they're just not your best friend anymore. I guess that's a weird way to describe it, but that's kind of how I feel about Simms. So as a changing brand, that's how I'm feeling. But I'm also hopeful that they maybe can change back. Maybe they'll get this kind of feedback and address it. Maybe they already have with my personal experience with the customer support. So I know the shop owners that I know are concerned. They don't want to completely cut ties with Simms, but people are walking in saying we don't want that. So they're having to stock up on other brands, Squala and some other brands that are also really good quality gear and deserve to compete with the Simms. So I'm pulling for them too. So that's kind of my thoughts on Simms. I will say it can go the other direction as well. A good example, I'll just say it, Scientific Anglers. For many years when I first started fishing, early days of fly fishing and buying gear, and I was always looking for the least expensive stuff, Scientific Anglers was it. You could find it at the Walmart, you could find it in the cheaper fly shops that carried lower end gear. And that's just how I always thought of SA. Rods and everything. I believe they made reels as well. But nowadays, it's my preferred line. I've been blown away by their line development and their leaders, and everything that they're doing now is really high quality. I hope that continues, but I just think of the brand in a completely different way than I did 20 years ago. So brands definitely can change, and it has all to do with who's running the company and what they put as their goals. So we'll see how it works out for Simms. If they want to focus on a larger market and think that that's going to work for them, then great. I wish them the best of luck, but I do see them losing a lot of the fly fishing market right now. So we'll see how that pans out. So just some thoughts on brands and changing brands and how we can become attached to brands and then kind of feel cheated when they go off and do other things and don't seem to be paying us much attention. But again, it can happen the other way around too. So support your local fly shops, buy what they got in stock, and let's stick with them. I'm Greg. This is today's version of Field Notes. I hope you like it. If you did, I'm just kind of doing these things sort of off the cuff, thoughts, notes. Please like and subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and make a comment, and let me know how I can make this channel more interesting or better for you. So, till next time, I'm Greg. This is Field Notes. Thanks a lot.